Alright, hear me out. Today is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. This is So Says Mr. Thunder. I'm Mr. Thunder. If this is your first time coming to the podcast, definitely appreciate you making it, spending a little time with me. For those of you who have been with me on this journey, as I always say, if it wasn't for you, this would never be possible because it's not about me, it's about you. So, with that being said, I hope everybody has gotten through this season. As you know, in Houston, Texas, we had some terrible weather, and there was a tornado that came through the city. And I find it interesting that the more and more that I pay attention to my anointing, the more and more I realize that it is to definitely discern and understand the time. So, with that being said, today I want to talk about being unpleased. What I mean by that is I'm gonna go into detail a little bit, but just being at a point where you're not happy, you're not pleased with what's going on, or somebody is judging you by their displeasure of your situation, which causes you to be unpleased with yourself. So, as I always talk about in my previous podcast, I talk about seeking counsel, and one of the main characters in this audio encyclopedia of wisdom is my mother, Miss Lisa Thunder, the original Thunder. The original Thunder. And she is going through a transitional time in her life, as we all are. Just understanding what's going on and where we fit in this universe. So, me and her have been talking a lot about, what we're doing and how we're progressing, and just kind of giving each other a push to do what they say they want to do. So, and it works both ways. But in this instance, I was just getting a good report from her about, she had found a voice within herself through, I forget what she said it was called, but they were doing something at church where they kind of just were given an opportunity to purge a situation or a time in their lives where they felt like they had to accept it, and that became who they were. So, anyways, she talked about having this encounter where she had a moment of clarity and realized that, it's really about doing all the things that you're supposed to do. And my mom's very, very much a believer, so she definitely has a direct connection to God. So when she speaks, I listen. And she was telling me how God was telling her that, she needs to venture off and do things because it's her time. And that's where we kind of started talking about being unpleased. And she was saying how a lot of her decisions were based upon doing what she thought she was supposed to do or needed to do at the time, or making a decision based upon somebody else being unpleased with her. One of the a moment of transparency, my mom had me when she was young. She was 15. She was a kid, and my grandmother didn't treat her very well, which caused my mom to venture out into the world very, very early and grow up very early. So right now, we're all grown, and she's got grandbabies now, and she's in a point in her life where she can do whatever she want to do. And she had to break the cycle of being unpleased with herself and doing something to make her happy. And I say unpleased in a form of just making a decision against your best interest, and having that mindset. Basically surviving as you see it rather than progressing. But now, you have an opportunity to progress. So she talked about how the world itself has created an atmosphere where we have to accept certain behavior, and that behavior has been broadcast more and more and more on social media, just TV, and the core reason for people making some rash decisions, and that's mental health as well. And the bad part about that is that mental health is always shined a light on when it is unpleased. So they focus on the negative, right? I've had a friend, actually, yeah, Alex Kilbrew, blockchain basketball, spoke on it a little bit. He wanted to get more and more in depth about it because of what he had going on, and I think he was just looking for a way to get it out. And as his words took root into what I thought, I started to understand what my mom was telling me about not having to accept the behavior, but direct the behavior. And in directing it, you do the same thing. You plant a seed of positivity that eventually, when it gets watered by the right source, it'll take root, and things will change, or they'll start to grow. Whatever, however you want to look at it. Um, but the way to go about doing that is to recognize when you're unpleased with yourself and be able to say, "Not today." Right? Not today. This is not gonna happen. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna allow these things to happen. I'm gonna make a decision that's in my best interest. And she quoted me um, a verse, and I found it very interesting that she did that, because she always goes to the Bible. And she said, "You know what my favorite verse is?" Anytime I start thinking like that, and I was like, "No, I don't know." And for some reason, she thought I knew it and was surprised that I didn't. But as soon as she said it, I remember her always saying the last part of this verse. So the verse is Joshua 24:15 from the King James version. It says, "And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose lands ye dwell. But for as as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And I remember my mom used to always say that whenever she would get frustrated. She would say, "But for as me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And I never really understood what she was saying until this very moment, where she talked about how she decided to no longer live in a mindset of, displeasure of oneself by being unpleased and making moves to appease other people, right? So when you're unpleased, it's usually because you're appeasing somebody else. And then these are things that have become learned behavior. I'm guilty of it. I think a lot of us are guilty of it. But it's when you recognize, when you say, "Not today. This is not going to happen." You choose not to accept it. And because you understand that being unpleased causes a negative reaction that can be labeled as mental health, which it is, it's just a part of it. But only thing they focus on is the bad part of it. It's when people have good mental health is when they need to communicate. Is when you need to be planting these seeds. Is when you need to be checking on your people, connecting with your friends, your family, and things like that. Having honest conversations because you're unpleased with yourself or a situation. So today is the day that you decide that no matter what the universe is saying, no matter what the enemy says, or no matter what the devil is saying, not today, Satan, because for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And you can look at that as, we are going to do what's best for us, and I'm going to do what's best for me in order to make sure that my family is taken care of and I'm pleased with where I'm at, so that I don't project any negative mental health, and I only project positive mental health by being able to speak life into situations and people. So, have you found yourself in a moment where you were unpleased with yourself and you either accepted the behavior that you were conducting as or being a part of, and you just leaned on people saying that that's a part of mental health, so it's okay. But nobody's telling you how to make it better. Who do you want to make happy? What God do you serve, as the verse says? So I leave you with that again. The verse being Joshua 24:15. And if it seems evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in which land ye dwell. But for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. This has been So Says Mr. Thunder. I'm Mr. Thunder. I'm a Native American of this country, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. I appreciate you for spending a little time with me today, just speaking on the topic of being unpleased, and just knowing that no matter what is happening, no matter what the world is saying, if they don't tell you what's good, then they want to feed you what's bad so they can see you sad and unpleased with yourself. We don't need that. You don't want that. Which God do you serve? Which direction do you want to go in? Do you say, you know what? Fuck that. Not today. Not today, Satan, or however you want to say it. Be that person. Lean on that. Understand that when you do what's best for you in the eyes of the Lord, everything will come together. And the pleasure will be that you are pleased with what decisions you made, because you knew that today wasn't going to be the day that you keep doing it. So if you got anything to say, you want to talk about it, I want to hear about it. I just need 10 minutes of your best. I definitely appreciate you again for listening. Go ahead and follow the Instagram page, So Says Mr. Thunder, YouTube channel, So Says Mr. Thunder. This particular podcast is being recorded on Spreaker. However, I'm on all podcast platforms, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and many more. Either way, definitely want to hear from you. Give me 10 minutes of your best. Until next time.